Hello everyone, welcome to week 10 of my predictions. As you can hear in my voice, I'm not particularly happy. The Seahawks got battered by the Ravens, 37-3. That stung. That really stung. Gino isn't the guy. We need to draft a quarterback, or start Drew Lock, or both. Both would be great. But this is like a wake up to us. Can't just sit around and do nothing. This week, well, last week, week 9, I went 7-7. I got Steelers wrong, I got Chiefs wrong, I got Chargers wrong, I got Commanders wrong, got Texans wrong, and I got Packers and Eagles wrong. I had quite a few upsets, didn't I? I had the Jets winning, I had the Dolphins winning, I had the Cowboys winning, I had the Patriots winning. Yeah. It's been a bit hectic this week. Week 10 looks to be even more chaotic and in disarray. So why don't I just get into it with the riveting Thursday night game of Panthers at Bears. I am going to pick the Panthers here. I don't trust either team, and this game seems very, very boring. There's not too much to say. The Bears seem like a bit more of a complete team, but I feel like the Panthers they're starting to get going a little bit, and I just don't think the Bears are going to be able to build up any sort of momentum at all. DJ Moore can always just play absolutely insane and carry the Bears to a win, like he did against the Commanders. That can always happen, but as far as I know, Justin Fields is still injured, and I'm going to pick the Panthers. I think that's probably an upset, which isn't saying much considering they're against the Bears. But yeah, I'm going to go Panthers. The next game is the Browns at the Ravens. This is what I'm expecting to be the complete opposite of Panthers and Bears and not be a boring game. The Browns have a great defense. The Ravens have a great defense. The Ravens have a great offense. But the Browns' offense, I'm not too confident in. And that's the deciding factor for me. I'm going to pick the Ravens. They're looking very dominant at the moment. They've had their struggles this season, like losing to the Steelers. They struggled against the Titans. They lost to the Colts. But the Colts aren't terrible, and the Steelers are 5-3. So it's kind of understandable. Plus, Steelers were a divisional rival, so that's going to be a more difficult game for the Ravens. And this is divisional. This is always going to be a tough game for both Browns and Ravens, but I don't think the Browns are going to get the win. I think the win will go to Baltimore. And sticking with the AFC North, Texans at the Bengals. I like the Texans. I really like CJ Stroud. He is insane as a rookie, but the Bengals are on a streak right now. They are on a roll. They had a rough start, and then they played us. And since then they've been doing very, very well. I don't think they've lost since then. I think that they're on a 4-game win streak, I think, and that's impressive. So I'm gonna pick the Bengals. I think they're the more trustworthy team. Joe Burrow is starting to pick it up. T. Higgins is starting to pick it up. Their run game is pretty good. Their defense is really good. The Texans, I just think the Texans just are kind of like a watered down Bengals, I think, and I think Bengals will put them in their place. No, but I think Bengals will win and they'll go to 6-3. The next game, this will be entertaining. The 49ers at the Jaguars. Both teams coming off of a bye week. The Jags are on a 5-game winning streak, and the 49ers are on a 3-game losing streak. And either both streaks continue, or neither of them do. Personally, I think the streak is going to continue. I'm going to pick the Jags for an upset. I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers win, to be honest. But the Jags have looked very good. Like, really, really good. I don't think they're as good as the Ravens, but they're 6-2 after starting 1-2. Again, 5-game win streak. That's not a coincidence. They are a very solid team. I think they'll continue to be a very, very solid team. Brock Purdy's bubble has burst, and Purdy's just not looking as good as the 49ers QB, which is great for us Seahawks fans, and for any Rams and Cardinals fans, I guess, as well. But I'm going to go with the Jags. I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers win, to be honest, but I can't trust them. Can't trust them to win against better teams like the Jags. I mean, they beat the Cowboys earlier in the season, but I think Jags are better than Cowboys. So I'm going to pick the Jags. The next game is the Tennessee Titans at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the 3rd game in a row for the Bucs where they're playing an opponent who is coming off of a loss. So this is their 3rd game in a row where both teams need the bounce back game. Both times before, I picked the Bucs and they lost both to the Bills and to the Texans. I don't think the Titans are as good as the Bills nor the Texans. I think they're close behind the Texans, but I don't think they're quite as good. But I can't keep trusting the Bucs. I've had too much faith in them, to be honest. I still think Mayfield can do something. I do have slight trust in Baker Mayfield, but it's not much. It's depleting. So I'm gonna pick the Titans. I don't have much faith in either team, but at the moment the Titans look more complete, and they look like they'll be able to be more consistent than the Bucs. So I'm gonna pick them. The next game is the Packers at the Steelers. Both of these teams coming off of a win. The Packers coming off of a surprisingly large win against the Rams by 17 points. A 3-score win against the Rams. Thank you. The Steelers holding off Will Levis and the Titans last Thursday. And their defense is always really good. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor in this game. So I'm going to pick the Steelers to win. I don't think the Packers are quite there yet. I know that they just got a win, but that's not saying too much considering it's against the 3-6 Rams. Well, they were 3-5 when they faced the Packers, but whatever. But now they're facing a team with a much better defense. And even if the Steelers don't have as good an offense as the Rams, the defense is way better, and the Rams only scored 3 points, so it can't be much worse than the Rams. The defense is better, so that should be able to lower the Packers' score, and if the offense is able to get going, I think the Steelers could run away with it. The next game is the Saints at the Vikings. Every Saints fan over the past few years is dreaming of just destroying the Vikings, just because of all the playoff losses they've had to them. And the question is, do I think that the Saints will get their revenge here? The answer originally was yes. Originally I had the Saints winning. But after I thought about it more and looked at more of the plays and analysed the scores a bit more, the Saints have been cutting it close with... They cut it close with their last win against the Bears, even while having a good offense for 2 weeks in a row. But the Vikings with Josh Dobbs, that was a surprisingly good game for them. I don't think Dobbs is as good as Cousins, but I think he's certainly underrated. He didn't need to know the whole playbook. He just needed to know the plays that they were going to be using for that match against the Falcons, and he managed to get them a win. He's athletic, and quite frankly, I think he's underrated. I'm going to go with the Vikings. They are on a roll just like the Bengals. They're on a 4-game win streak, and I think that streak is also going to continue. I think they're going to bump it up to 5 wins in a row. And Saints fans, I'm sorry. The next game, the Germany game, is the Colts at the Patriots. I'm going to go Colts. I've gone Colts. I trusted the Patriots last week on a one-off, and it still didn't work. They lost to the Commanders, who have more than a fractured defense after the trade deadline. And the Colts managed to beat the Panthers as a bounce back after losing to the Saints. And in Germany, I think Colts are, well, not necessarily in Germany, but just overall, I think Colts are just the better team. So in Germany, I think they're going to be able to beat the Patriots. The next game is the Lions at the Chargers. What time is it on? Oh, 9:05. Okay, it won't be on TV. That'll probably be Giants Cowboys, because apparently everyone loves the Cowboys. But this should be the late game, even though it's not going to be because it's 9:05 and not 9:25. Anyways, the Lions, they're coming off a bye week. The last 2 games have been a little rough though. Their last game before the bye, they beat the Raiders 26-14, but Goff didn't exactly have a great game. Jahmyr Gibbs though, an amazing game. The Lions' run game is improving severely, and against a weak Chargers defense, who, let's face it, they dominated the Jets 27-6. But the Jets' offense isn't too much to scream about. I think the Lions are definitely going to be tougher than the Jets, and I think the Lions are not only going to score more than the Jets, they're going to beat the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Lions. I don't think that's a controversial take. They're coming off a bye week, and I think that's going to help. I think the Lions will beat the Chargers. The next game is the Falcons at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are starting Kyler Murray this week, and the Falcons lost to the Vikings last week, I believe, on a game-winning drive. But I think the Falcons are going to be able to bounce back from that. I think overall they are the better team. They're the more complete team. Obviously, Kyler Murray can make anything happen. So, honestly, Cardinals winning, I wouldn't be too surprised with. But I think Falcons are a little more stable. And if they run the ball more, they can run it well. Because Bijan Robinson is a beast, but Arthur Smith won't let him run it for some reason. But I think Falcons will get the win there. The next game is the Giants at the Cowboys. This one's just plain and simple. I'm going with the Cowboys. The Cowboys nearly beat the Eagles last week. That would have been quite a shock, even though I predicted them to win for some reason. But the Giants are terrible. Antonio Pierce's first game as the Raiders head coach just decimated the Giants. It was something like 30-6. That's the first time Raiders have scored more than 20 this season? And that's wild. I mean, it's against the Giants, but it's also just the Raiders. The Raiders are starting to build up, and the Giants are starting to fall down. Daniel Jones is out for the season as well. I think it's just the safe option to go with the Cowboys. I'm not expecting too much. Not to mention, when they play each other week 1, Cowboys destroyed the Giants 40-0. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if history repeated itself. The next game is the Commanders at the Seahawks. And I don't want to talk about the Seahawks game, but I'm going to. Our offense sucked. Ravens' defense is great, kudos to them, but our offense was not good. And I think that's largely down to Geno. He can't read defenses, and he holds onto the ball for too long. Although I don't think it's all Geno. The O-line needs to get better as well. I think our left tackle, we need a new left tackle. Maybe even left guard. But O-line is not doing well at all. It's not being able to protect Geno. But Geno needs to be able to throw the ball quicker, because the O-line can't hold on forever. And just because I don't trust the Seahawks, I'm going to pick the Commanders. Overall, I think Seahawks have the better team. But they just completely shut down last week against the Ravens. Had no running defense almost at all, while the Commanders beat the Patriots, which isn't a big deal, but the Commanders' defense has lost a couple of its key players to the Bears and Niners on the trade deadline. So I thought the Patriots had a chance, and I mean, it was still by 3 points, but what can you do? I'm going to pick the Commanders, just because I don't trust the Seahawks. The Sunday night game is the Jets at the Raiders. Normally I would have picked the Jets, but their game against the Chargers was not good at all. While the Raiders managed to do pretty well in Antonio Pierce's first game. Not to mention last week they also benched Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Aiden O'Connell started and he played really well. Max Crosby, obviously always really good. I think he got 3 or 4 sacks as well. Honestly, Raiders aren't looking awful for once this season. So I'm actually going to pick the Raiders. If the Jets win, it will be because of their defense. And that will mean it will ultimately come down to just a defense battle, and it's just an absolute slugfest. But I think the Raiders' offense is a little bit more functional now than the Jets. And finally, Monday night, the Broncos at the Bills. I could probably fall asleep watching that game. The Broncos are coming off a bye week, and their defense has been looking decent. The Bills haven't been looking completely trustworthy, and last week they lost to the Bengals. But I think the Bills are looking to get this win more than the Broncos are. I think Bills want to try and take that first place in the division away from Miami as quick as they can so they can hold on to it. So I think overall the Bills are a better team as well. They just need to be able to get it together. That doesn't even take the division away from them. Still, they'd be highly competitive against the Dolphins and keep the Dolphins shaking. Because the Dolphins have gone over 400 days without beating a team with a winning record. And the Bills aren't a terrible team either. They're just untrustworthy. This time I will put my faith in them and I'm going to go with the Bills. And that's going to conclude my Week 10 predictions. Hope you all enjoyed. Go Hawks, and until next time, goodbye and have a nice day.